welcome to day 8. I wanted to share with you guys this motivational speech that I prepared. We are here in this Jeju, somewhat nature, very pretty, very soothing. It's definitely a hidden spot that I found. So definitely want to show you, and hopefully, even though you're not here with me physically, you can feel the energy and the presence of what I'm about to share with you guys. I want to talk about detours in our lives, and what if the detours in our life are kind of the way in our life, and all the time that we spend worrying and analyzing and critiquing is nothing more but an inability to realize the imperfection of just the moment, the greatness that completely oblivious to us we start to stumble upon, sometimes we can fall into the trap of looking at life, I believe, in a way that is too linear, and I certainly think that we benefit from simplicity for, a variety of reasons: for clarity, the ability to make something repeatable, the gift of focus. But, here's the things. The truth is so rarely black and white, and that begs the question that what do we make with all that nuance and all that detail and all that other stuff, the surprises, the twists, the turns, the sudden goodbyes, the unexpected hellos, and all the taking on that we go through. Because life is messy, and it does get messy, and it's unpredictable. And our greatest lessons seem to come to places that we honestly least expected. Our most memorable moments are often just somehow dropped into our laps. And there's a John Lennon notion that he says that life is what happens. Life happens when we're making other plans, and it's interesting.
Life is what happens when we're making other plans.
I spent about a decade trying to point out this mountaintop, trying to make up this plan just to see again and again that the value continuously comes from the places that I honestly didn't anticipate. Whereas if I kept my eyes closed or even blinked for a second, I might have just missed it, it seems that the important things often dress themselves as mistakes, problems, setbacks, and detours. And I ask, why bring all this up? Why do we stress about this? Because if you're like me and you have this tendency time to time to beat yourself up, and the times were the times that you felt short, or the times that you swung and missed and put yourself down. And for anyone who thinks that deviation from the original path is in some way a failure, my goal is to remind you that these things, every single one of them, they are all coming together to make you. And the more days that I start to collect, the more I start to realize that it's not just part of the chapter, but it's part of the whole story. It's the character development that we create. See, somewhere at some point along the way, there's going to be situations that are going to change. Things that come and go, relationships that fall apart, and just forever things that ended up just being rather temporary. And that animal brain that we have will tell us, this is somehow just a total loss, and those days are wasted, the times are stolen, and it won't highlight for you how much you actually learned and how much we learned, and realize that point and that time in life, it became that opened the door to the next. And just all of this is all part of this critical evolution. And just the thought that we thought and the wisdom that we hold, none of that is never realized without you realizing of us taking the path that we took. And so I asked, was that a detour? Or was that you being exactly where you needed to be? And then there's gonna be ideas, the ones that we thought that we ironed out, that we nailed and hit out of the park, and the plans that we can rewrite the story, the parts that we want to rewrite the story, but ultimately, time just didn't allow it to live up to that potential. It will fade away and leave you with no choice but just to pick yourself back up and to move on. And your pride and your emotions will absorb all of that, and it will tell you, hey, it was all for naught. Another failure, a giant L, It won't show you how learning to brush yourself off and start again is a must. It's a muscle. It's a skill and a thing that reminds me that those who don't get back up are at a disadvantage at life, because they won't explain that you are more courageous now than you have ever been up to this point in time, and that depersonalizing our miscalculations and carrying on, well, it just won't help us succeed, but it's gonna be the reason we do, and the X factor, the wind between our wings. And so I ask you, for those miscalculations, detours, or were they the wisdom that we needed more than anything else? And of course, there's gonna be times that we just don't know. And perhaps those are gonna be the times that may be the hardest, that we're unsure and we're stuck. But it's gonna be hard enough that we have no idea, and it always seems like that everybody else has it all figured out, all down, and I believe that's the message our brain starts to create with us, in us, that it's all us, that it's all you. But it doesn't tell you that in reality, no one really knows exactly where we're gonna go or what we're doing. And the ones who think they do, they're good luck with that. But it doesn't really tell you that you don't find yourself until you get lost. That life is not a determined checklist or a thing that has all these qualifications, but it's an adventure where some corners are turned, just to realize that sometimes things in life, it's not what we're gonna want, but bridges are gonna cross to make us realize that we don't have control in everything, but the way we accept it, the way we take that and use that to remind us to enjoy what's around us and capture the value and explore the vastness of the world that eventually offers up all the pieces of the world that we need. And so, as I ask, being unsure, is that actually a detour or the necessary starting point to live a life true to yourself? And perhaps, maybe we're just looking at this whole thing along the wrong way, a little too black and white. What if what we need to do is, while we're in pursuit of whatever we're trying to pursue, to give ourselves a little bit more love, a little more understanding, because one cannot be their own greatest critic, right? And if they forget to also be their biggest fan, the two are inextricably linked, and it makes it not okay to not be caught up in the formal, that one forgets the latter, because life gets messy and life is hard. So forgive yourself when your plans from time to time mimic the pulse of the very world that we are trying so desperately hard to navigate, So be there for yourself. Love yourself and be kind to yourself, because every step is important and every moment matters in this life. And I want to ask, what if this so-called detour in our lives were not detours at all? What if they were the way? and all the time that we spent worrying, analyzing, and critiquing. What if it was just nothing more but an inability to realize the perfection of just a moment? The greatness, look at how great, and the greatness that we stumble upon, you know? So I want to challenge you today that whatever past or, whatever way that you are going in life right now, even though it may not seem perfect and we may fall back down, and like I said in my other video about the timing, it's okay. It's supposed to happen in our lives, just going outside for a walk, taking, gratitude of just the air, just the birds chirping, and literally just this beautiful nature that we get to live every day, each day, with just gratitude. So, again, I hope you enjoyed this walk and this little motivational video. And from my heart to yours, namaste.